are we rolling? Yes, we are. Okay, it is 7 p.m. This is Thursday, August 8th, 2019. This is the Alburnett City Council meeting for this evening. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you've not been to our meetings here in the city of Alburnett, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you in the audience, you'll see that we have the flag here to our right. I'll go ahead and stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask that you do the same. So we'll do that at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I'll ask the clerk at this time to go ahead and call roll call to establish a quorum for this evening.
Councilor Benson?
Present.
Councilor Saracen? Present. Councilor Sean?
Present.
Councilor Trump?
Here. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum this evening to conduct business. All right, we'll go ahead and seek an approval of tonight's agenda. Clerk, is there any changes or edits to the agenda as presented?
There are none.
All right, we go ahead and seek a motion then to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Sean.
Second.
Second by Saracen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Number 5 is the sheriff's report. I don't see our deputy from Lynn County here this evening. We'll go ahead and leave that item open until the sheriff shows up, and then we'll move to it at that time. Number 6 is the mayor's report. I have a couple things this evening. I do want to mention that over the last 3 months, we've talked to folks at council. We've put it out on the internet, obviously. We've talked to folks around town. And then it's also on our social media page about the potential change of the city logo. Last council meeting and throughout the month, I've asked the clerk to present the logo for consideration. In fact, it's on your letterhead this evening, and again, it's on the city's Facebook page for consideration. I believe that we're going to make one more effort in our upcoming newsletter to let the folks see that, and then I'll be calling for council action to officially change the city's logo, or update it anyway to the new Alburnett one that you have in front of you, at least the council folks. I don't know, maybe we can pull that up if we can, but we don't have to do that at this time. But just so you have an idea of what that is, again, it's on the city's social media page. It doesn't change anything as far as the Alburnett portion or our long-standing motto, the comfort of country and community. It just changes some of the background and the font on the logo itself, so I did want to mention that as well. I did want to do a lot of thank yous to the folks that were out there that for benefit days, to the chief and the fire department. I'm sure that will be discussed a little bit later as well, and to some of the other the city departments that have worked on our improvements here in the city. So again, there's other items in here that will pop up that will also bring up some of those accolades later, but I know a lot of people worked really hard over the last 30 days since our last council meeting. So that's all I have. We'll go ahead and move on to the council reports. We'll start at the right this time. Councilman Trump.
It's just nice to see some of the projects coming along as we get through summer and the weather improves. Steve, thanks for the report here for the calls.
Councilman Jones.
Nothing at this time.
Councilman Saracen.
The only thing I have to report is we had our Emergency Management Association meeting. Everything went well. We passed quite a few plans at that meeting, and it also came up that with the closing of Dwayne Arnold, the organization is looking at what their strategic plan is, and I have landed on that committee to help the Lynn County Emergency Management with their 5-year strategic plan. So more to come. I think it's going to be a huge benefit to us as a smaller community and how we can voice what our needs are versus getting overshadowed by some of the larger communities in the county. So that's all I have.
Thank you for serving on that. Councilman Henson.
Nothing for me.
All right, then we'll go ahead and move on to citizen comments. There are 2 types of citizen comments that we have here in the city of Alburnett. The first type is agenda items, and the second type is non-agenda items. We'll go ahead and address the agenda items this time. If you have an item that you see on the agenda that you wish to address the council about, this is the time and place to do so. If you wish to do that, you need to state your name and address clearly for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes to make any comments. Is there anyone that has any comments they'd like to make on agenda items? Hearing none, then we'll go ahead and move on to non-agenda items. Again, this is the time and place you'd have to make any comments you wish to make on non-agenda items. You have up to 5 minutes to do so. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address cleared for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes to do so.
James Hill.
Mr. Hill, yes. And thank you for coming, sir. I had an opportunity to speak with
Back
you
in-
the other night.
Back in December of 14, 2017, I addressed these issues. Someone was going to get right back to me about these things, and no one has. I still have a tripping issue at my home, and my neighbor's tree up there is dying. That baby is just plain dying, and it's simply because of that street project that tore out the roots, it's killed it. The tree should come down, should be out of there to safeguard that house. And the other thing I would ask about, what happened to the skating rink that they were gonna put up? And how about those markings for the, along the driveway for the curves? You know, such as they do down at the corners and so on. And then the last thing was my odd need parking for the winter time for snow removal.
All right, Mr. Hill, I think that I got all 5 of those down if I got them correctly. For those not familiar with the street he's referring to, that's the Moodhart Street. That was a project we did a few years ago where we replaced the roadway, and that included sidewalks. Some of the things are kind of combined there. The tripping hazard he's referring to, I had the opportunity to walk on that street and had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Hill the other evening. He's referring to a portion of the sidewalk that goes up onto his property there is what he's talking about. As far as the tree, you're referring to your neighbor's tree that is 2 houses down to the west.
Watchels.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the particular tree that was large in size, and where the sidewalk went by, there was some debate at the time whether or not the tree would be taken out, or whether or not it would stay, or whether or not there would be an adverse effect by digging down to where the right-of-way work had to be done in the sidewalk place. There was a conversation between the city, the developers at the time, and the homeowner as to what action wanted to be taken at that time, and the final choice was that the tree would be left into place and the sidewalk would be put in a place next to it. I looked at the tree, I took a few pictures of it. It's certainly alive at the top. It's green and leafy at the top. A little farther down, there is certainly 1, maybe 2 branches that are not green and leafy. I would tend to agree with that.
It's major on the south side.
Yes, I would agree. And speaking to the homeowner a few days ago, it sounds like it depends year to year on whether or not it's getting better or worse. I think time will tell. It may be another year before we know whether that, whether those branches do better or worse. I know certainly your opinion is that it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, and it may actually
I've got pictures before it was,
Okay.
when the street was put in, and there's pictures of it now. It wouldn't take a rocket scientist
To figure out that it's getting
to
worse.
see that this thing is dying,
And it may certainly come to it where the tree needs to be removed, so,
well, it's there.
okay. And don't get me wrong, I certainly appreciate you coming and speaking at council. In fact, I invited you, so we'll have to deal with that particular issue with the homeowner, of course, but I just want to put some context into what you're talking about. The skating rink project that you were talking about, this was a project through Wellmark, yes. That was a initial project we looked at doing through some grant funding through them. The council changed that project some time back. It was on one of the council meetings. I can pull that for you if you want to go back and look at it online, or if you want to pull the minutes from it. And they chose to do a walking trail project that goes out to the west to the new fire station. So it's not that we're not doing a wellness program or utilizing that grant money. We just changed the purpose of it to fit with the building of the new fire station. So that's the update on that. I'm gonna go ahead and refer either the marking of the curbs or the even or odd parking to either Councilman Trum or Overseas Public Works or to Guy. I'm gonna leave that up to you.
I guess I don't recall the odd even suggestion. You mean depending on the snowfall, you park on the opposite side of the street?
Yeah, yeah. they
Our
ju-
ordinance clearly states that if there's a snow emergency, if there's snow, you have to get your car off the street. And if there's a snow emergency, then we can tow your car, is what it boils down to. And there's not enough street parking to merit an odd even system, in my opinion, because any given snowstorm, there's usually only 4 to 5 cars parked on the street, total in town completely. So thank you for your thought process, but I don't feel it's necessary, and we have an ordinance that covers what happens during a snowstorm. So,
As far as markings, are we behind on any markings on?
what kind of markings are you?
Well, like the driveways, curbs right there, they just put a little yellow down there where the driveways are.
Like on everybody's driveway?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have never been in a town that's had that before, but,
Me either.
um,
I've never heard of that.
no.
I've never
we didn't.
been anywhere where they stuck the sidewalk on the property 9 inches either.
Oh, I have in Marion.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of instances of that. Just depends on
In
drainage
Alburnett, we
geography.
didn't have it.
Well, we widened your street, and so we had to make allowances, so,
Well, that's where the problem is.
yeah.
Any other comments from council reference the five items we just discussed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. I appreciate you attending again this evening. Any other comments from anyone in the audience? Okay, hearing none, then that concludes the non-agenda items up to 5 minutes. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 9, which is the written reports. The fire, public works, and city clerk reports are in each one of your council packets. I'll go ahead and just touch on each one real quick to see if any additional notes have been made, and then we can go to any questions from the council chief. Anything additional besides what is in your report?
I just added that calls versus city versus township.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go with that, sir.
Oh, just this is some of the additional information that Councilman Trum had requested, so we had it for any, I think any future either fundraising items that we were gonna do, or for the fire department project, or some of the future stuff we were looking at, so we do appreciate that, but go ahead if you have a synopsis of the data.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's about equal, calls versus city versus township, depending on the year. But, then the PR, football games, benefit days, fire prevention and fundraisers, and then the city also has the storm watch put in under theirs. I guess we could have divided that out, but.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments you wanna make on benefit days? I think it went relatively well considering.
Yeah, it went well. I mean, it was slow but steady, but, I mean, it's great the boys got to the state baseball. I mean,
Okay. Any questions for the fire chief on the additional information submitted or his report?
Did we have the golf outing?
yes, we did.
How'd that go?
I haven't officially heard, but around $2,500. It was, we weren't full, still could use more teams, but,
Something different at least.
yeah.
Do you have anything else in line, or?
We talked about another pancake breakfast, because we got a bunch of donated pancake mix before it goes bad. Maybe later this fall or sometime.
Let us know how we can help.
Any other questions for the fire chief? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the public works report that's placed in there. Any questions for public works director? Anything to add, Guy?
Two little things. I spoke with Craig Titler about the sidewalk issue out here on Main, and he has a friend, or his son, I think it is, that will re-pour that. So he'll get it taken care of. Might take a little while, but he'll get it cleaned up and fixed. And also, just because I didn't know when they were coming, Pelling showed up to finish the seal coat on 3rd Avenue up near the water tower. They did it yesterday, that even though we cored it out and put all that new aggregate in there, it is actually, even after all this dry weather, it is still soft. So we set up a temporary weight limit sign on there, and I've got the grinding company who's doing the screening right now, routing around to the other driveway, so we don't put any heavy trucks on there, and we'll just, hopefully it firms up and it stays decent and gets, maybe now with the seal, it'll keep all the rain out for a while and it'll firm up. But their motor grader was actually, you could see it leaving depression as they were trying to do the final spread. So I don't know what's going on there. That's got more than a foot of brand new packed aggregate in it from this spring when they worked on it. So Alburnett soil, don't know how to explain it beyond that. So.
Okay. Any questions for Public Works?
Was there anything new about the culvert that we had a resident wanted to replace?
Oh, I haven't been able to talk to Craig. Craig fell and got injured
Okay.
here, so I haven't been able to catch up with him and find out. We got plenty of time to do that if they still want to, so, yeah.
Okay, city clerk's report, yeah, I see you had several items on there, and I know you've been gone to some trading as well, but, anything else to add or discuss there?
Guy and I were at an event today for disaster planning, so that was good, informational. There were other cities from the surrounding areas we discussed, ways to handle potential disasters, so that was good. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, then we'll move on, any questions for the clerk, sorry. All right, then we'll move on to item number 10, which is the approval of the consent agenda. Before we move for the approval, do we have any additions for the claims?
We do not.
Okay, then the list of claims have been submitted into your packet. You've had an opportunity to review them, I'm sure, as well as the minutes and the treasurer's report. Since there's no changes to the consent agenda, unless you have anything to add to that, I would go ahead and seek a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Moved by Saracen, second by Menson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item number 11. This is the new business portion of the council. The first item is MSA's donation to the school. We'll handle that portion first. I believe that we have Mrs. Ruler here to handle that portion. Is that program going well, by the way, the donation portion?
Yes, very well.
Okay, good. If you're not familiar with MSA, they not only are our city engineering portion of it, they're helping us with our fire department project and so on. They're here for two different purposes tonight, but I would like to go ahead and do the first portion of that, which is the donation of the supplies. Most things that we do here, we do like to keep the public updated on, which includes the social media access, or a portion of it, as well as our webpage. Would you, both of you, mind coming up and letting us present your supplies and getting that as well? Maybe would you capture that photo as well?
You could send that over.
So yeah, so MSA, we do, every year is one of our events is we do a competition between all of our offices. And the competition is to who can get the most school supplies per person in the office. And luckily, our Cedar Rapids office is quite small, so we always win.
Oh.
So when we win, we get an extra $100 to donate to the school that we chose. And this year we chose Alburnett.
Wonderful.
So there's a check.
Big smiles, please. Thank you. That was perfect with the mayor's chin right on the
I feel
check.
like I was photobombing your
That was beautiful.
So yeah, we just have a box of pencils, and we went for like the 5th grader list. So
Yes.
um,
Oh my goodness.
there
Thank you
go.
so much.
Yes, and it's kind of heavy, so I'll pick it up for you.
There was a really nice notebook in there, but since I needed one, I already got it.
You'll make
Well,
it use of
You
it.
know, it was here, and I thought, I'm kidding around with you. All right. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for receiving that. We really appreciate it, and thank you, MSA, for
Thank you. We
providing
appreciate
those as well.
I like winning.
The second portion of this is MSA also is making a donation for the fire department. And I
Yes.
believe the chief, do you have his letter as well?
Yes, I do.
But if we could also get this, would the chief come up and would you make your presentation
Yeah.
for that as well?
So yeah, we talked a while about donating to the fire station because I know money is something that we need to do. So here's a check for $400 to go to the fire station. As you notice,
There you go.
the check is dated May.
Yes.
I was trying to make it to a meeting, but I quit. So I'm glad, yeah,
Thank you.
there you go.
Very good. Thank you, both to you and your firm and to the chief for receiving that. We'll take every little portion we can get to assist with the fire department, so appreciate that. All right, we'll go, anything else you wanna say before I move on those?
No, I'm good now.
All right, thank you.
I have no more checks.
Okay. Oh, and feel free to bring a check every month. So.
Wish I could.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to item B. Kent Wright, this is discussion regarding special events. We'll go ahead and recognize you at this time. Kent, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Thanks for taking time to hear me out and maybe some suggestions and just overall with the special events that we've had over the last, 3 months or so actually, because we've had, I think we've had some Baca rides with Nancy and them too, and then Kelly Rogers benefit, of course the Children's Benefit Day. And kind of what we do a lot of times, we tend to just close lefties early there's a number of certain reasons, but also that tends to help out the events too by not competing with selling our food compared to what the groups are trying to sell. But it has kind of put a damper on me this year, having those 4 events, and there are some things I didn't necessarily agree with as far as some of the things that I seen that went on. The one thing, referring back to Kelly Rogers' event, I think it was a pretty good event, but the bars get to sell their beer and alcohol adjacent to their outdoor permits and stuff. But what I did see was set up coolers and stuff clear out to the middle of the street here on Main Street and selling their beer out of there, which I think is probably a violation of their permit, but that's really not what I'm here for. And also what I've seen is the open containers. Yes, they've had security on hand, had law officers here, and I actually kind of asked one of them, like, okay, where's the open container supposed to stop? Is it all supposed to be in this general area? Talking Main Street and all that. Fine and dandy, but coming on to Lefty's business, my business, open containers. Actually had to chase some people out. They come in with open containers. No respect. I get that. So therefore, at that time, I chose to shut down because I do not have a permit to do that. Somebody sees that, turns me in, you buy the beer here, whatever. I'm liable. Also liable for the people on my property with open containers. I did some research on the law and the city ordinances and what I see as far as you have the special events and they meet this criteria and stuff, but according to whatever dram shop insurance they have or whatever, nothing's really stating nothing's black on white on do they need to put up a boundary for containment of the open containers. There's nothing in writing and I think they have to provide you with a drawing of their outdoor permits, which is fine and dandy, but I really think we've kind of gotten out of hand this year on where things have gone. I mean, I've had, and part of it is owning property downtown here, as you all know, Keaton, we own that property there and he lives there, and I actually had to chase people out of my backyard that were sitting there on my stuff. I said, this is private property, and I actually had to get rude with a couple of them to chase them off. So that's part of it. And then as far as the benefit day itself, we had issues with my son. We had to leave for the day. after the parade was done. We closed at 3 o'clock, just to give my staff and that time to enjoy the day with everyone else, and that's kind of what I have done over the past years. And, you know, they've done a pretty good job on the barricades, and they had an arrow pointing down to the left. He's coming off of, I don't even remember what street I'm on over here, but
That
Come down first.
that street, First Street, yeah, I always wanna call it Second, but anyway. A sign pointing down Lefties is open, you know. Great, you know, that's one improvement we made there, instead of just staggering a sign. But as soon as we closed up shop and actually heard from my employee, she come down and next thing I know, the band was showing up and club members putting the event on actually just had the band and their vehicles all just parked over there in front of the gas pumps. Well, by the time I got back home from the day, it was, I don't know, evening time, my lot was like a parking lot. Nobody could get to my pumps. My pumps are 24/7. So that's a concern of mine. I mean, I closed down, like I said, that's kind of my way of getting my donation. I close that down that time of day. I'm probably missing out $3,000–4,000 on each event. So you figure that out, I probably donated $10,000 to those events this year, okay? Just to the point where enough's enough as far as not having access to my establishment. Then another thing, I actually had some of those members putting on the event actually asked some of my patrons, how come you're getting food and stuff from over there when we're providing it, and then you're coming over and sitting in our tent. So I actually have some of those members asking my patrons, why are you buying your food and stuff there when we have it all over here? So it's ruffled my feathers a little bit, okay? So I would like to propose, I mean, it's food for thought about closing of this Main Street for these events. I understand the special events, they do good things for some people that need it, but does it warrant closing the whole 2, sometimes 3 block area, I think. I think they went all the way up to church, didn't
Yeah,
they, for the
For
tractor
benefit
kid
day,
thing?
yep.
I thought, man, you know, okay, this bar, oh, they're paying for the band, so we want them down here. This bar's paying for the band this year, they want them in front of their establishment. We need to get back to working together and establish something that we're gonna have, you know. Odd year, you're gonna, okay, we're odd number year, you're gonna set up the band here, no matter who's paying for it. Close this block off down to the fire station. Even number year, you're gonna go the other way. It's just an idea, you know, I'm not saying to do it. Or there is, you know, I've looked at it and I actually spoke with Guy and, you know, there's room to come diagonally across the street and put a fence up, barricade, whatever have you, and still leave Main Street open to Second. And even, you could even rope off, fence off in front of the Historical Society, down to the city-owned parking lot. You could even barricade along there so they still have more room to walk to Historical Society and make it safe. The last thing I want is someone stepping off the curb and going out into traffic. I don't know, look, you know, I don't want the fire department to come out and rescue some little kid on a benefit day for children, you know. It's the last thing I want. But on the other hand, I don't like being blocked off totally. So I've already made a decision, no matter what happens next year, I will put up my own fence along Main Street, unless you guys are unless they'll help keep it open to my business. I will put up my own fence along Main Street, so we don't have encroachment onto me, and so they know a boundary there, you know. But that, as concerned as a business owner, plus a citizen of this community, which I've been here a long time. You know, we've had the business 15 years now, and it's been there for 27 years, I think. So anyway, that's not my concern, and, you know, if, block off a business like that, you know, I'm viable and everything, but you can't take too many hits like that in 2 or 3 months' time and stay viable without getting a little, you know, ruffled up. You know, I do what I can, and I give back to the community, you know, whether it's volunteering or I go out and help pick up trash, you know, after the day's events and stuff too. I, you know, keep it all clean. So that is my concern. Of course, you know, the bars, you know, they make out great for the most part, you know. I would really like to see possibly the clubs would go back to, you know, go under their own permit and work with the bars and stuff and try to offset that instead of, you know, them making out like bandits and here I sit closed and not really doing anything. And I get it, closing is my prerogative, whether to close or stay open, but when I have some of those things happening, liability wise, I just assume close. And that's where I'm at with that. So that's really what I have in a nutshell. My concern is business owner plus private citizen, and I really think we can do something different as far as these special event days, and maybe we need to look into adopting, you know, what do I say, boundaries, to have significant boundaries up if we're gonna have these events. And I know everybody knows pain the butt, put fence up, I know that, you know, but still, you know where you're supposed to be,
Sure.
okay?
Well, I'll make sure that the council has plenty of time to independently address your concerns here, as they have the voting power on every one of the special permits.
Correct.
I will say this. I agree with you on the liquor laws. The state law is very specific about, on liquor laws, where they can conduct business, which is generally in or around on your premises, period.
Correct.
Okay. I'll also say that cities have independent rights as to what they can do for local ordinances,
Yes.
which is why you can see big or small cities make rules. They can't overstrike the state law. In other words, we couldn't pass an ordinance that says you can serve liquor all night out of your establishment.
Correct.
You know, but they can make variances to liquor licensing, such as special events.
Yes.
I'm not sure that includes selling liquor in the middle of the street, okay? I'm with you on that one.
Yep.
I didn't know that occurred.
Yes.
Okay. So, the other thing, so I'm with you on the law portion of it, as long as you're with me on the special event portion of our ordinances. The next thing I'll say is, I'm not sure that, in my opinion, our authority goes much beyond approving special permits.
Right.
So when you say things like, this business or these businesses need to get together and do this and that, I don't disagree with that, other than, as an example, when the Diamond Club comes in and makes a permit, that's generally, I believe, where our authority stops as a city council.
And yes, I believe that, and I was just
Right.
kind of throwing that out there
Okay.
as my opinion, yes.
I'm not sure we need to interact or use authority in how private businesses conduct special events.
Agreed.
I think we just assess what they put forth and interpret how the ordinance is for special events and make a decision at that time.
I agree.
Okay, all right, very good. But I am certainly sympathetic. Your private business should not have to be shut down or cost you revenue because somebody decided to block your pumps and not make them available when you offer that service.
Correct.
I disagree with that completely.
Yes.
So, all right, I'll turn it over to the council for their comments, and we can start to the left this time, and Councilman Menson.
I agree with you 100%, Kent. I was not able to make it to the benefit days this year because of my son's baptism, but I did go over my golf cart, or take my golf cart over to where my camper is stored. I couldn't even tell if you were open. And I kinda thought, the signage, benefit days is every year, maybe we should get like an actual legible sign.
That's really should be the Diamond Clubs. I mean, they're the one requesting the event, just like the mayor was saying, and they used to be, there's been a change in people. And it used to be a
lot
little
of change
better.
people.
And it used to be a lot better, and they used to think about the downtown businesses a lot more from my first experience with Benefit Day, and now some of the downtown businesses have been taken for granted, so, I mean,
And maybe we need to change things on our end and add into our special permits fee, or permit, application that you need to fence your area off, period.
there you go.
If you have people in, Lefty's parking lot, you may not get a permit next time.
Absolutely.
That's my thought.
Thank you.
Ken, I appreciate what you do for the community. I know you have children and grandchildren here, and you're a big advocate for Alburnett. On the same token, I think special events are important. It draws a lot of people to town.
Yes.
We've had several, I'm gonna leave Benefit Day out of it because that is really a true community event. We've had
Correct.
others that were for individuals as a fundraising. So it does dishearten me to know that private businesses are profiting from that, because for us as a city to we've expended resources to block the streets, and those shouldn't be for the benefit of private industry. So I think we need to take that into consideration as we sponsor these events. And you're absolutely right, there's considerations, there's just common decency that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't even mention that, but yes, there's a cost on the city's end or taxpayers, whichever way you wanna look at it. You have, your guy has to come out there, and by the way, Brett done a good job while Guy was in absence and putting up barricades and stuff, and just kind of following what needs to be done. So yeah, I need to mention that yeah, the city has a cost involved too of doing that, so I'm
And
glad
we're
you
happy to
brought
help with
up.
that, because again, it does benefit our community.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be at the cost of, one private entity shouldn't profit over another.
Correct.
With Benefit Day, the only thing I want to address, I was very surprised not to see any kind of beer tent or beer garden, and generally you go to any event and that's what you see. And I actually had made the comment that day. So again, when it comes to our permits, that's something I will be conscious of in the future, that how do we contain that and keep that at bay.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming,
Yes.
and I think your points are well taken. And I don't feel that there's any way that we give somebody permission to hold a special event, that we give them the right to break the law. We still have our state laws, and we need to abide by them. And we need to, next time we need to make sure that these people that request events, that they do have to follow the state law. You can't just go out and do whatever you wish.
I can't add much to what everybody else has said, but thanks for coming and pointing out the issues and making us
Yeah,
aware.
I appreciate you guys just taking time to listen. Like I say, I wasn't gonna come in here flaming guns, I wanted to bring it to your attention, and just for future reference, and like I say, those are some changes that we can do as a business ourselves differently too, so, but that way it's out there, and you can reach out to those people requesting special events. These are some things that come up in the past, mention it, say, hey, we need to take care of these items and support each other. So thank you.
Like you said, it did inspire you to come in this year. What about past years? How come it's not been an issue then? It's just because of the increase that we're doing in, this year saw, or has it gotten worse?
It's just gotten worse. It seems like over the years, and we're usually around too, and it wasn't around this year, because a lot of times if I see them starting to, hey, I grab one to remember that you can't let them do this, and I'm not a fun hater, but, you gotta keep my pumps open. I have to
Sure.
remind them. I had to remind them on the Kelly Rogers benefit, because they moved the fence clear in, and said, hey, I don't have any but place to turn around here, for these pumps, so I was a little more present, and like I say, in past years, there was different people, and they were a little more conscious about what was going on. They made sure the one drive stayed open, made sure I stayed open, you know. And they didn't let the cars, whether you're handicapped or not, they didn't let the cars come down and just park. I think they had a little more members that were able to watch and take care of things where their members are down. From what I've seen, there wasn't many members
Kind of regulating things.
regulating things, but I think that's where some of the downfall has been. And there again, of course, we had, like 4 events right in their own, and I think that's what made me see the effects more, because it's like boom, 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 you know, here the last 45 days, it seemed like, you know, and yes, it's a great cause for every one of those, you know, and I don't deny that a bit, but we've seen it more this year than in past, I guess.
Yeah, and those events were close together, but not only does it take a minimum of a month prior for approval, but some of those were approved months in
Oh.
advance. There was plenty of prep time.
Correct, yeah.
You know, they should have had everything in place.
Correct, yeah, and so, yeah, I just throw numbers out there as far as,
Sure.
it just seemed like a short time, but yeah, because I look at you have to have you have to come to the council 30 days prior to having the special event permit.
Yeah,
So-
well, I feel bad that you lost the revenue on that,
Well,
on something that was
you know,
avoidable.
that's water under the bridge there, so, yeah.
Okay, any other comments from anyone else on this? All right, again, thank you, Ken.
You bet.
Okay, item C, the city compost area, discuss issues with improper usage. This is an item that was originally, I think, brought up with Councilman Minson. I'm gonna turn it over to him in a moment, but I know this is something that we are addressing now. I think it came up in a previous council meeting within the last few months as far as some action we were looking at with some signage and things, but I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and have you address this as well.
So yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, on Sunday, it was actually my wife saw the guy come in for the second time. So I went over there to talk to him, and actually it's coincidental, 3 other citizens were doing the same thing. And the guy owns a tree service. He admitted to me, I brought 3 loads up here so far, but somebody that lives nearby said it's been more like 7 loads. So I called the sheriff, like, I'm done with this. We have to pay for all this. And there wasn't much the sheriff really could do, trespassing warning. The sheriff him and I kind of talked about, we probably should have a sign up that says Alburnett residents only, which I think we used to.
I never saw it. If we did, it's possible, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
But with a little work of the internet, this isn't the first time this guy's done this. He's been caught 3 times, not in Alburnett, but different communities illegally dumping, so who knows how long he's been doing this. He was bringing these trees from Marion, Cedar Rapids area, so. And, you know, you talk to people that live around that area, and they said it's a constant. And we're footing the bill for this.
Yeah. For those in the audience or that watch us on YouTube, section 6-57-9 of the Alburnett City Code does say that for the separation of yard waste required in composting, that all yard waste be separated by the owner and or occupant or any other garbage or refuse accumulated on the premises and shall be composted by the city approved compost facility. That facility is just on the west side of town over there by the water tower, if you don't know where it is or use it for the residents here. I'll continue. At the approved facility, the city, meaning Alburnett, shall only allow organic waste generated within the city limits, such as leaves, grass clipping, garden waste, and small twigs and branches under the diameter of 6 inches. So it is something that we make available to the citizens here in Alburnett, but keep in mind that is a benefit for the people here. There is a cost associated with maintaining that compost site. Guy here can tell us in a moment how often we have to go in, clean it, turn it, pull it down for chipping and things like that. But that is a cost paid for by the city or city taxpayers. So I want to make it clear that not only does the ordinance give the power for us to enforce folks that aren't, or bringing things in and dumping there, whether they're dumping items that are too big or not, shouldn't belong there, or whether or not they're not within the city of Alburnett. And the thing about it is, you work in Marion, they have items that could go to Marion. The city of Cedar Rapids has their own, Hiawatha has their own, so they don't need to be encroaching on ours. And I'll turn it over to Public Works here. You have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, I wasn't able to get a total cost. My thought process is 2 signs basically at the 2 entrances that you could get to the brush pile, basically stating for Alburnett compost and yard and garden waste only, for Alburnett city limits residents only, which then protects us as far as they were warned as they drove into the facility. Another larger sign at the compost pile explaining those items, only items that can be dumped. And also, you have to spell it out for most people, you cannot dump and list the main items that we do see that we cannot take, again, with Alburnett residents only. I did put a sheet in all your packets clear on the back, it'd be the last page
Yes,
with some,
thank you.
some verbiage that maybe could go on the big sign, that Danielle put together. But then at that point too, I think it's time to put cameras up, so,
I will tell you, cameras will be under $100.
well, I found one that's a 4-camera unit with a terabyte of storage for $229.
Right.
So, 4 different cameras, so we could actually monitor basically all parts of the city yard.
We just need to post that as well, that it's under.
And yes, and then post on the sign, it's under video.
Oh, I see.
Surveillance, yeah. So, and I can install it myself, and we have Wi-Fi at the shop, we have internet service at the shop, so it's not gonna be a hard problem to monitor, and the signs would be a one-time cost that would last for years. The whole situation, I would hope, could be taken care of for $500. As far as getting the cameras, installing them, and having signs made, might be $6. I don't know what those signs would cost to make them durable, but.
I'd like to look over the cameras you found. I've done quite a bit of research, so I'd like to bump heads before we review anything.
No problem.
Um,
And I can have a hard number on signage too by next meeting also.
Given the time of year, I'd prefer not to wait till next meeting, we just get this resolved.
Okay.
That's mine.
Do you want a
I would make,
motion to approve signage and cameras at fair market value to just go ahead and get this done then?
correct.
Okay.
You want me to
Yeah.
say, I make a motion that we assign, or that we approve signage and cameras for the compost area to alert people of the video surveillance as well as what can and cannot be accepted, and that it is for Alburnett residents only.
Yeah, and these are low dollar items well in your purchasing power. So, we have a motion by Sarah.
Second that.
All right, second by, which one?
Go ahead.
By Menson. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the motion carries. Would you work with her and then execute the thing? All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add
Sure.
something? So now the question comes up, we have all this surveillance and such, are we gonna start enforcing this? Like this gentleman who I so pleasantly spoke with the other day, could have cared less.
Yeah, I think there's 2 possible approaches here. Under that same section, section 6-57-21 gives the penalty to where the city can assess basically a civil infraction against them. In other words, get them cited and charge them for the civil infraction of it. The other angle is what the deputy did where they, since they're on city property in violation, then they're trespassing. And he did issue, the deputy sheriff issued them a trespass warning. If they continue to come back and they're in violation, a city official can go ahead and sign that they're, basically the deputy is saying you're in violation, you're trespassing, and we'll sign that they violated the trespass warning. And they're charged with trespassing. And that's against the law. I mean, they're gonna be charged with a state code violation. So we could go either way with it.
Can that be done based on video surveillance, or do we have to catch them in the act for something like that?
Well, when they warned him the first time, I don't know this fellow's name, but when they warn him, they identify him, and then they have a log, they keep that in. trespass violation is a simple misdemeanor, so it's good for 1 year. So, I mean, if it rolls past a year, you'll have to give another warning. Depending on how the county does it, but I can tell you in the city of Cedar Rapids, you can put a letter on file that permanently warns that person off, but it's still a rolling year because it's a simple. But since he's been warned, if he continues to come back and we catch him there again, and they call and say, hey, this guy was just warned a month ago, do you want to file the trespassing charges? Yes, we do on behalf of the city. And any council person, the city, myself, whatever, can say, yes, we do, I'll sign the complaint, and they're charged with trespassing. And it's an arrestable offense if they want to. So, I think it's certainly something we could look at doing from the trespass side. We could also seek the civil infraction per the city code under chapter 57.
Yeah, I guess my whole thing is he dumped 3 loads. I mean, we are footing the bill for his 3 loads that he more than likely got paid to get rid of.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, this is one of those things where if they're gonna blatantly continue to do it in violation of our ordinance, it's worth us to pursue it. You know, otherwise, why have the ordinance if we're not gonna enforce it? So,
Do you think this person would pay if we threatened him, say, you owe us X number of dollars?
Well, we're a public entity, or we're the city, we can assess it to taxes, we can
Because we
get
had
our money.
one experience when we had a gentleman from out of town brought stuff over, and we sent him a bill and he paid it. Now, I don't know whether this person would or not, I have no
Well,
idea.
like I said, we can,
If it's a civil infraction, we can assess taxes.
So I
He's a
think it's
citizen in town,
kind
so
of
we
up
can
to us
assess
to
him.
decide whether we want to get.
he's
he
not a
lives,
citizen.
yeah, he lives out, I know he lived outside the area, he's just using our particular facilities out of convenience.
You can assess him for our civil infraction then, if he's outside of town.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would matter, because, once they're charged, it's going to the court system, so.
Okay.
Well, we'll see if he's learned his lesson, if not, then we'll continue to, pursue it. Anything else on, dumping? Anything you wanna add, Guy?
Thank you for keeping an eye on it.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and move forward with that. And item D, resolution 08-2019-01, setting the date for a public hearing for the urban renewal plan amendment. I have to pull mine up here just a second, and we'll get this done. Okay, this is we addressed this last month, but this is a resolution replacing that. We've got some corrected dates on this, so resolution 08-2019-1, I'll be seeking a motion for this in a moment. In your packet, you have this particular resolution. It sets the date for August 22nd, 2019 at 6 p.m. For that public hearing. The verbiage that you see on the back where it gives the notice of public hearing, that is going to be submitted on what date for the public notification? Is that tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, so that gives you an opportunity to review that verbiage that's going in for, I believe, the, I don't know which notification, but we're using paper.
Yeah, it'll be in the Gazette.
It'll be in the Gazette for tomorrow, as well as our standard notifications we use here. So I will need a passing of this resolution by roll call that we're going to do here in a moment, but it'll give you an opportunity to take a look at that. So this is for the adoption of the urban renewal plan west of town for the area we're redesignating for the construction of the new fire department. So if you have no other questions on that, or any other discussion on that, I'll ask for a roll call from the clerk for the passing of resolution 08-2019 or 01. I'm sorry, what?
Need a motion.
Motion. Go ahead, somebody.
I move we adopt resolution 08-2019-1.
It's moved by Trum,
Second.
second by Shantz. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Counselor Trump,
Aye.
Counselor Shantz,
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson, Counselor Menson.
Alright,
All right, let the record reflect that that resolution passed. Thank you. Back up. All right, then we'll go ahead and move on on to the public hearing for the natural gas franchise ordinance fee amendment. This is something also that we've been discussing over the last few months. This was also brought up last month that we would be moving forward with this. So we're gonna go ahead and conduct the public hearing for the natural gas franchise fee. We'll go ahead, mark the time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for the natural gas franchise fee ordinance amendment. So this is a time and place for the public hearing for this particular, and you have it there, for the natural gas franchise fee ordinance. I'll ask the city clerk at this time if they've received any written objections to the.
You're not.
We have none. All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments this time or objections or have questions for the gas franchise fee ordinance? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and close out the public hearing. Let the record reflect that a public hearing was held on this matter, and that there were no comments from the public and no written comments submitted. All right, so that closes out the public hearing on that matter. We'll go ahead and conduct our second public hearing. This one is on the electric franchise fee ordinance amendment. So this is the time and place, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. This is the time and place for a public hearing on the electric franchise fee ordinance amendment. Go ahead and ask the clerk if you received any written objections on this particular amendment.
We have not.
I'll go ahead and ask the public if you have any questions, comments, or objections to the electric franchise fee ordinance amendment. If you do, this is the time and place to go ahead and have any of those questions answered. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Let the record reflect that the public hearing was held on the electric franchise fee ordinance amendment, and there were no written objections or public comments or concerns. All right, both public hearings have been held for these matters. We'll go ahead and move forward with the council action. In a moment, after I've completed the motions for both of these, the council will also have an option to waive second and third and final readings, the second and third and final readings for each of these. So I ask you to be thinking about that, whether or not you want to conduct those actions here in a moment. So again, be thinking about that. Okay, the first one that we're going to deal with will be the natural gas franchise fee. This will set the process of the adoption of the ordinance allowing for 1% franchise fee on Alliant gas and electric bills for all city residents, placing a 1% loss previously included. You have a copy of the in here. Let me pull mine up here. Thank you. Ordinance 2019-1, which will be the gas franchise fee related to the fees. So I'll need a motion to adopt the first reading of the natural gas franchise fee ordinance 2019-1.
So moved.
Moved by Saracen, second by Trump. I'll be calling this for a roll call, a vote in just a moment. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to call for a roll call vote on this, please.
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson?
Aye.
Counselor Sean?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Let the record reflect it was unanimous vote for the approval of the ordinance 2019-1. Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward then to the second reading, or the second item, which is the electrical franchise fee 2019-2. I'll be seeking a motion in a moment for this. For the first reading of the electric franchise fee 2019-2. I'll need a motion for this one as well.
So moved.
Moved by Saracen,
Second.
second by Trum. Any other discussion on this before we call for roll call? Hearing none, clerk, would you call for roll call on this as well?
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson? Counselor Sean? Counselor Trump?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that it also passed unanimous, other than we're missing our one council member. All right. Now, okay, now we're down to the portion of whether or not the council has the desire to go ahead and waive the second and third reading, which would be the final reading for each one of these. We'll start with ordinance 2019-1. Do we want to go ahead and waive the additional readings and approve these now so we can go ahead and implement this by next month? Or do we want to do these by a month with the additional readings? What's the desire of the council here?
Given there'll be no change to people's bills, I see no reason. I move that we waive the second, third, and final readings of the natural gas franchise fee ordinance 2019-1.
We have a council member wishing to waive the additional readings and implement now. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Sean. Okay, since we have the motion and the second for the final reading, to waive the final readings, second and final readings of natural gas franchise fee ordinance 2019-1, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the roll call again, please.
Counselor Mason?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson?
Aye.
Counselor Sean?
Aye.
Counselor Trump?
All right,
Let the record reflect it was passed unanimously minus our one council member for the item 2019-1. That moves us into the final reading of electric franchise fee for 2019-2. What is the desire of the council here?
Make a motion, we waive the second, third, and final readings of the electric franchise fee ordinance 2019-2.
Moved by Saracen,
second.
second by Trum. Any other discussion? Clerk, would you call it again, please?
Counselor Menson?
Aye.
Counselor Sarahson?
Aye.
Counselor Sean? Counselor Trump?
All right,
Let the record reflect that it was passed unanimously again, minus our missing council member. All right, that completes each one of the public hearings as well as the approvals and readings with the waivers. Would you go ahead and put those into place, please? All right, thank you. All right, that takes care of items F and G and H. That takes us into, any other comments on that?
No, the John McCallion is going to now proceed with submitting it to the Iowa Utilities Board.
Okay.
Let them know, and then it will take effect in October.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, that takes us up to item number 12, which is the old business. I think we could probably do A, B, and C all together here. I'll turn it over to Guy for an update on each one of those projects, and then back to the council for any comments. Go ahead.
Been a busy week. Obviously, everybody showed up to do it all at once, so Naylor Sewer Extension went excellent. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. It got poured back. The concrete patch got poured back today. So saw cuts and Naylor, and little curing time, and Naylor will be back open. Just no problems whatsoever. Roosevelt Street culvert is, I'm told that Kleesner was coming to do the patch tonight no matter what, because they had to move on to some other project. They weren't there as of 6:30 tonight, but it's not a huge patch, so hoping that's done and Roosevelt is open yet tonight. I'll check after the meeting. That went well too. We were really close to a high pressure gas line because we couldn't tell the depth from locates exactly, but we were able to go ahead and put the culvert in without moving that gas line. Line was okay with placement, so that was the only tiny hitch in that plan. Obviously, there's still grading to be done once the crop is out, but that's months away. So that project is great. North Street overlay is complete except for shouldering. They'll be back next week to shoulder, and there's one driveway that when we put culverts in, we wrecked some asphalt. It wasn't very good, but it was an asphalt driveway, so Kleesner will extend that driveway at our extra expense to fix that. That's the right thing to do, because we wrecked it, so we need to put it back. So approximately $1,500 worth of cost there. The patch on Roosevelt's gonna be bigger than what the plans called for, simply because our seal coat blew up this spring. We only went as far as was necessary, because we're gonna have to do something with that entire street in the near future. So I don't know where that number's gonna fall exactly, but it could be $3,000 on the project, somewhere in that neighborhood for the extra asphalt. So we'll see what happens there.
Are you shouldering North Street with dirt?
No, rock.
Oh, you are gonna.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was in the original bid agreement, so, yeah. So, and that went beautiful. I thought it's really nice. It'll be interesting to see how it wears with the trucks on it. So, went very well.
Other questions for Public Works over any of these projects?
Is that something MSA is involved in? Do we do like the walkthroughs and the sign-offs and everything like we do with the bigger projects, or is it?
Since it wasn't an all-out bid project, probably not.
Guy can just, if you're all right with it, I'm all right with it.
I was on scene every day, so.
I saw people out there and I wasn't sure if you were over there one.
I was looking around.
Just curiosity
Yeah,
more than
I
official
wanna measure
business.
that culvert just to make sure it's the right size. I mean, it might be a little bigger, but I just wanna measure it just to make sure that, that more curiosity, that's a big pipe, so.
Okay, I was just
For my
making sure,
records, to show.
making sure everybody was kosher.
Any other questions? All right, that completes the agenda items. We didn't have a deputy tonight. There must have been something going on for that. So, once we receive that report, would you get that, scan it, get it to each one of the council members for review? Thank you.
Fire station on purpose.
I'm sorry, what?
Did you skip fire station on purpose?
Oh, gosh, I did. I added it right in there. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. The fire station update. I will say this, things seem to be going relatively well. We're working two angles right now, one of which is the funding side, which obviously there was an item on the agenda tonight to talk about that funding piece, which is part of the urban renewal out there, which allows us for our bonding piece as far as a city entity. The second side of that is on the engineering architectural side. We do have a set of plans that allow us for the station up to $1.2 million and down to around $850,000. So depending on how much we want to build. Keep in mind, when the public sees fire stations, you can see that we have the plan here behind me. When they see a fire station like this, there's a great variance in cost, and a lot of that variance can depend upon the build out on the interior of the station as well as the exterior. This particular photograph here, you can see, shows a paved lot all the way through a large portion of this. To pave the entire grid out there would be a tremendous cost, and things like that have to be weighed out and how we're going to do some of those things. But this gives you a good opportunity to take a look at what the fire station will look like. This particular plan was made available to the fire station over benefit days to give the public an idea also what the layout of the fire station was going to look like and a rendering of it. So this will be available not only, I think we can do that online as well as make it available in our newsletter that's going out. So I just want to give the folks an idea of where that's going to be. The high and low end of the fire station, I think we're going to be able to bid it that way to where we can kind of bid this piece and then we can bid an optional piece on the cost. The information on that will be going out to the folks, and then we also have a notification that we'll be sending out to not only the city but everybody in the township, which will give them an opportunity to have one of either our council meetings or a public meeting available in a larger venue, most likely the school. I think we're trying to work up a tentative date for that in September, to where the public can come in, get a formalized presentation of what that's going to look like for the building of the fire station, how we're going to fund it, the time, more restricted timelines on the build out. Obviously, you're not going to see a structure this year. It'll be built next year because of the bidding times and things like that, but we'll certainly be doing work out there in the fall of this year. So that information will be going out, and then also some of our fundraising portion of that will be addressed in the letter that will go out to everyone in Alburnett as well as the township. So that's kind of my update in a nutshell. Chief, anything you want to add to that?
I got asked a question the other day, if someone built it, could we afford to lease it?
Lease option?
Yeah.
Well, we've got MSA here. I know we've, and I've mentioned this in the past, I work in the city of Cedar Rapids. We've looked at lease-to-own options before, as well as leasing options. A lot of the times when it comes to a governmental building, we don't look at that option because the purchasing is so much, it's more advantageous, not only because of how we are as a taxing entity and things like that, but I'll let them explain whether or not they think that was cost effective. So, any comments on that?
That is, I would have to talk to somebody about that. With the government entity, like you're saying, is pretty safe to say that you can't lease something, you wanna own it as your.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Marion has at the police department?
I don't know how they built that.
They didn't build it, Marion didn't build it.
That might have been, what they were gonna do with the Public Works building, which is illegal now, or I think it's illegal now, where somebody just went and built it and then the city technically bought it from that person, which may be what you're talking about, I'm not sure. I thought legislation just went through that you no longer can do that.
Like bought it outright?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm
I've
not
seen,
sure.
I've seen big projects leased to own before. I mean, the state radio system is done that way, but I can assure you the profitability they make on their money by leasing to own it over a 20-year period is very, very big. It's well worth it for them to do it. And usually, the only time that a governmental entity looks at doing something like that is when they don't have the money up front. And I don't think that's the case here. We're funded for this project. So I'm not sure there would be a benefit for us to lease it over a long period of time, pay all the extra money that we would have to do when we are a funded entity up front. So it's.
I can ask around and see if I can.
Certainly do.
Just a question asked.
We get, let's look at it as a conversation point anyway, so. Any other comments, clerk? Anything, Albert? All right, well, we're back to the right. Councilman Trump.
No comment.
Anything else? Okay, again, thanks for reminding me about the fire station. All right, now that completes the agenda items. Then if there's no other comments, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by Trump. I'm sure there's no discussion on that, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you all for attending this evening.